Stay tuned for the latest message excerpt from Impact Church.
Revelation 5:6, it says, I looked and I beheld in the midst of the throne and the four living creatures, and in the midst of the elders, in the middle of the throne. See, the throne's not just a chair. It's like there's something going on there. But in the middle of the throne is the Lamb. The Lamb of God is in the middle of the throne. You can read about it in Ezekiel, in Daniel, in all these kind of visionary experiences. There's something objective about seeing the throne of God. The throne of God is the throne of God, right? You go to Paris, you see the Eiffel Tower. You can go there from China, you can go there from Japan, you can go there from Mexico, you can go there from Canada, and you're going to see the same thing, because the same thing is the same thing. And what these people see when they see the throne of God is they see a lamb in the middle. There's a lamb at the middle, in the midst of all the stuff. Revelation chapter 17 and 14, it says, together they'll go to make war against the lamb. Somebody's trying to war the lamb, but the lamb will defeat them. Why? Because the lamb, he is Lord of lords, and he is King of kings. It's not the lion that's Lord of lords and King of kings. It's the lamb. The lamb slain from before the foundation of the world. So Isaiah sees this king. He has this visionary experience. He sees the king, and it's not what he expected. When Uzziah died, in the year that Uzziah died, I saw the king. I saw the Lord. When Uzziah died, with Uzziah's death, so died Isaiah's expectations of what a king would look like. With Uzziah's death, so died the expectations. And I don't want you to get kind of hung up on this and get too introspective, but what if sometimes our Uzziah has to die before we're actually able to see the Lord for who and what he is? Our expectations, our preconceived ideas of what we think God looks like and what we think he should do, how his activity is going to happen in our lives. What if sometimes those preconceived ideas, those hopes, those old authority structures, what if sometimes those have to die before we can see him for who he really is? Just a thought. But I think he struggled. I think he saw the king. He saw the king high and lifted up, in contrast to the king that just died. And he was like, what? I mean, I see the glory, but this is not what I expected to see a king. He sees the Lamb upon the throne. And I think he's confused. And I think he's a little bit confused because of this. He's seen this. But at the same time, just like in his vision, Isaiah chapter 1, as Henry said, is so rich. There's so much in there. He knows, Isaiah chapter 1, verse 2 and 3, God says, the children I raised and cared for, they've rebelled against me. Isaiah knows that the people of God have rebelled against him. He knows that they're in a really bad spot. He sees the devastation that their sin and rebellion has caused. He prophesies. He says in chapter 1, verse 7, your country lies in ruins and your towns are burned. Foreigners plunder your fields before your eyes and destroy everything they see. Exact opposite of the promised land. So he's seeing how bad it is. He's certain God's people are in a bad spot. He's certain that they've rebelled against God. And then on top of it, he's this religious guy who's been brought up in the Jewish family, Jewish context, Jewish culture. Then he hears God say this to him. Henry already quoted it. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 11. God says this to the guy who knows that he's sinful, to the people who are sinful. He says this. God says, what makes you think that I want all your sacrifices? This is the NLT instead of the Message. I'm sick of your burnt offerings, your rams and the fat of fattened calf. I get no pleasure from the blood of bulls and lambs and goats. When you come to worship me, who asked you to parade through my courts with all your ceremony? Stop bringing me meaningless gifts. The incense of your offerings disgust me. As for your celebrations of the new moon and the Sabbath, and get this one, your special days of fasting, they're sinful and false. I want no more of your pious meetings. I hate your new moon celebrations, your annual festivals. They're a burden to me. I cannot stand them. Wow. That's the prophet of God who's been brought up in the Hebrew tradition and religion. And God himself is saying that to Isaiah. Bit of a head scratcher. He sees how wicked they are. He knows that he's sinful. He knows his people's sinful. The king who he thought might be able to do something, he died. And now God's saying, actually, the religion that you thought would actually take you to where I want you to be, that land of blessing, the religion that you've been doing that you think is going to help you, I actually hate it. What's left? You can see why. He's probably got a little bit of cognitive dissonance going on. And then on top of all of that, as if that's not enough, he's seeing what's wrong. He's totally confuddled about how to get it right. But he's seeing this amazing picture of restoration. He's seeing something beautiful. Imagine the dissonance going on in his head. Wow, it's so bad. This isn't going to fix it. But this is where God's going to take us? What? How could that possibly be? Just how could that be? But who knows? If God's the one who shows you something that's wrong, I think this is a general life principle too. If God's the one who's going to show you something that's wrong, and it's not a critical or a judgmental spirit that's pointing something out to you, if God's showing you something that's wrong, that revelation, it's going to come wrapped in hope and empowered with a positive vision of what it can be. It's always going to be empowered. He's not going to leave you in a bad place. He doesn't leave Isaiah in a bad place. So Isaiah starts to see amazing things. He sees this. He sees in the last days the mountain of the Lord's house will be the highest of all. At the bottom there, it says nation will no longer fight against nation. Isaiah sees, wow, sinful people, sinful nation. Wow, we're so messed up. The king's not going to get us there. Religion's not going to get us there. But I can see a day when the church, God's people, we're going to be the most influential people on planet Earth. He says, I see a day when there's going to be no more war. Wow, what a beautiful vision. He sees a day when the wolf and the lamb will lie down together. Isaiah 11, the leopard will lie down with the baby goat. The cow will graze with the bear. The lion will eat hay like a cow. I mean, what kind of day is that going to be? That's a day of absolute restoration where even the natural order, the natural instincts of animals is going to be changed. There's going to be no violence. Nothing will hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain. For as the waters cover the sea, the knowledge of the glory will fill the earth. That's a beautiful vision. That's something we're all really excited about. He sees a time where the people of God are going to arise. Their light's going to be seen by all. The glory of the Lord is going to arise and appear upon us. He sees that day. And you know what's actually funny? I was thinking about this during worship. I don't think when he saw that day, I don't think he was foreshadowing and talking about revivals in the future. I thought he saw a day where the glory of God would appear and arise upon a people. I think the day he saw was Pentecost. The day he saw was normal Christianity, when the Spirit of God would be inside of people. What a day that he saw. We take this as our text for revival. I think Isaiah took this as his text. I see a day when the Spirit of God is going to live in a people. That's going to be normal. Wow. The glory of God in a people. The glory that I just had an amazing experience with and I saw and I didn't understand. That glory is going to be inside people and all they have to do is say yes to Jesus. Wow. That's the day he saw. He saw a time when the people are going to be called holy people. These messed up people that he lives with. They're going to be called the redeemed of the Lord. Jerusalem will be a place called the desirable place and a city no longer forsaken. So he sees this amazing, flourishing future. But put yourself in his shoes for a minute. You've been brought up in this tradition. You've been brought up in this culture with this religious teaching. And then you've heard God say, I'm not interested in your religion. Your king, who you had so much hope in, he just died. Yet nevertheless, it's like he's got this beautiful picture and the rug's been taken out from underneath him. But nevertheless, he saw a day in Isaiah 9:1 where this time of darkness and despair would not go on forever. The land of Zebulun and Naphtali will be humbled, but there will be a time in the future when Galilee of the Gentiles, which lies along the road that runs between Jordan and the sea, that land will be filled with glory. Isaiah sees a good future. It's shrouded, but he starts to see. So in his writings, as you're reading through the book of Isaiah, you're going to see that he has these conflicts at the beginning of his life, at the beginning of his ministry. And as his writings go on, as the book goes on, as his prophetic career goes on, he starts to get better pictures. He starts to get a more clearer picture of how this is going to happen. He starts to see things. He progressively starts to see it. So he sees in Isaiah 9:2, he sees that the people who walk in darkness, they will see a great light. For those who live in a land of deep darkness, a light will shine. So he's starting to see, wow, there's going to be a light that comes. Awesome. And he's this prophetic guy on this journey. Sometimes, when you think about the Bible and we work our way through, we see the finished product. And we just kind of read it, the 66 pages, you see the black and white on the page, and it's just like, well, of course it's that way. That's the way it's always been. Or we see the final picture. And Isaiah, for example, it wasn't a book he just kind of sat down at his typewriter and God gave him a download. Like there's a whole bunch of different stuff going on in the book of Isaiah. It's not just one vision. It's a compilation. Actually, a lot of it's poetry. Actually, it's kind of funny, eh? Some of the doom and gloom and the you're going to die and these guys are going to get these guys, those are actually poems. It's kind of weird. It takes the edge off it a little bit, right? Kind of flowery and stuff. But Isaiah, so it's a very human process. This is a human being engaged with Almighty God. The Spirit of God is speaking to him and speaking through him. And he's on this journey of discovery, and he's starting to see, and in his writings, it's getting clearer and clearer. He sees, okay, there's going to be a light that comes. And then it gets a little bit pictured. He's like, wow, okay, that light, Isaiah 9, 6-7, that light's actually going to be a child. Wow, it's not going to be a light from the sky. No, a child is going to be born to us. Unto us a son is going to be given. The government's going to rest on his shoulders. Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God. This is what you're going to call him. Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. This light that's going to come, his government and its peace, it'll never end.